step by step here, and yeah, and there's still I mean, it's step by step here, and but whenever it's bad, it's a little bit scary because what happens is more high-speed streets. Then, right? Cars are more used to going fast on 4,000.
No one knows what to do.
What?
No one knows what to do. Pedestrian.
Okay, I don't know. But
We're not rule followers. You know, it's interesting because actually and one thing that we learned is that the Spanish, they follow the rules.
But I went back, I was there last summer for a month, and only for 2 months.
Oh, great.
On the coast,
So I'm here. This is it. Looks of it.
Well, you're like Bilbao and
Yeah.
San Sebastian. Yeah. Yeah, we did the, we want to do that next because this was our first ever really big camping stay. And we did the southern coast. In particular, the area around, I don't know if you've, as a cyclist, I don't know if you've heard, but Seville is like,
yeah.
and so we spent a couple of weeks in
It's
Seville.
pretty there, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting there.
You go to Granada?
Yeah, we did go to Granada too.
My
Yeah.
castle's awesome. It's a
Yeah.
bit of a walk to go up.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite a bike ride out there. You know what's interesting is we were actually on the street that lived that went right up to the castle. And do you know who actually made the Alhambra famous in the 19th century? Washington Irving. And so I read his, the castle's called Alhambra. He actually wrote a book about 1850 called Tales of Alhambra. And he lived there for a year while he was doing this. In the book, he complains about the stupidity. It's kind of a fun thing, you know, because we were living on that hill and we went up it.
Let me take a picture of this. There's a lot of paperwork right here, guys. A lot of paperwork here, guys. So I'm in floor 2, like South 2. So it's 4 tables. So you have South 1 here. Julio Pena, he's a district leader and he's community board 7 chair. I'm in South 2. That's South 3. That's South 4. So I'm in South 2. Plus I need the view. I can view and I can get close to the person. So this is the look here, guys.
My second marriage.
Got it,
I'm sure you understand.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I don't know whether these people I teach work songs.
You teach what?
Work songs, highway work songs.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. One key in the northern, southern tier. And,
Okay, yeah, I think that in New York City, it's someone who's been cycling in New York City for a long time. But the work zones, that's like one area where there really has been a lot of improvement over the last 10 years. And you really see it in general, the workers, making sure that they're still signed up. Yeah.
So they got pizza. So at least Transalt get pizza. I mean, pizza for Transalt. I don't know who pizza it is, but I'm gonna get some. Hungry. I'm not gonna say the F. Okay.
Okay. Good, how are you?
Good, Sebastian came last night.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
That's why I came. So we switched.
Oh, good. I'm so glad, yeah.
Give him a break.
Yeah. I know, it's tough. It's like evening. Do you live in there?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay. So does he live in there?
No. He lives in Astoria.
So how long is this?
Usually a little over an hour because the end. It's not the best.
Yeah, so he gets on the bus. I
Yeah.
guess that's not bad.
Yeah, it's a straight shot.
Yeah, I would.
That's a lot of paperwork. Like, that's crazy.
God, I didn't bring the numbers. How do you guys split up the portfolio?
Oh, he does anything energy / transportation related, and I do more health, mapping, and environmental exposures, which they kind of overlap.
Just like the
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like air quality, HVAC, water related stuff is all me. He does community solar, offshore wind. I'm just here because he was good. Yeah. Yes.
I just sent an email and I wrote it. So we saw this last May, and I don't know if you remember reading that. So you guys came to the you came to November, right? That was when we did the air quality. It was like you presented in Milan, and that's when the DOT first came and presented the like map BQE stuff.
Yes.
Third Avenue proposal. Okay, so this is what was presented, right? So it's like this is what option 1, option 2, and option 3. And then we met again in December, and there was like a little straw poll. We were like, have people talk in groups, and we were like, what do you? December meeting, but it was like, what do you, questions?
So they got pizza here. You know what I mean? So they got pizza. I'm showing this right now. Take the photos of this pizza. So people are like, they never fed us. They did. Pizza here, guys. So I'll just wait.
Oh, okay. He said it's February 21st.
And then just as a, I sent this to him, so again, I can just forward it to you, but, and he saw this last night, but option 1 is like, it doesn't do anything, it's just like painted curb extensions, but then basically it's like business as usual, so basically when you pass that, which is 60th and 3rd,
Yeah.
we're like, will this do anything for safety? We're like, so then option 2, they showed us, they were like, okay, here's a road diet, so the 2 moving lanes instead of 3, and they're like, and then
Oh, so people are going to die.
we're just like, so that's the introduction to the road diet.
It'll be covered by me. So they put it right. That'll be perfect. So we'll get the
But some interesting, some interstates have gone down in some places. It doesn't need.
Yeah, because this is small enough that people are.
they're trying to rip down the elevated section in Syracuse in New York.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, a lot of fighting. It's an elevated section and it's only 2 lanes with no showing.
Okay.
The library is going to print out this section. Yeah. But a lot of the details are.
Okay, I guess I should be quiet and focus.
Oh.
Okay.
Should I put these on? Is this redundant?
Oh, no.
No, this one. Yeah.
That's the English version of the Spanish.
Yeah, I'm going to try ones with the Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm actually studying Spanish more on my own right
And
now.
these are different than what we heard.
You know,
But I'm talking
Europeans,
about this.
they just
Where-
have used to
Yeah,
being
that's your printing. Should I put this on?
Small countries and they're closer to each other. We have Canada, we have Mexico.
and even Belgium has more than one language.
Yeah, oh yeah, the Flemish are really, it's growing, not taking, I solved the problem there, I'm just getting.
So I got banned from YouTube for a week. So I'm on Twitter, guys. So y'all want a recap? Go on. Oh, great. Thank you. Pizza while I'm here. Hungry as- Two slices of the water. I'll give you guys a taste test while I'm here.
I mean,
Part one, if you can hear me. I know, I gotta do a teacher style. Okay. If we could just get seated, well, I mean, in the meantime, you can still, feel free to get some food and snacks over there. But I am going to get started. So thank you again, everyone, for being here tonight. As we kick off round 3 of our community engagement series for the BQE redesign project. So I just want to do some brief introductions. I am Rosie Shanowski, the Staten Island and South Brooklyn organizer for Transportation Alternatives. Many of you are also familiar with Kathy, our Brooklyn organizer over here. We also have a few other of my lovely and esteemed coworkers here with me tonight to help out. Cole over here, who waves to everyone. And we also have Anna from Families for Safe Streets. I believe she's out there. And Nina out there as well, helping us out tonight. I also want to thank Rich Miller. He's on our board of directors, and he is also an energy lawyer, and just, very much involved in the Safe Streets movement. And we also have Julio from Community Board 7, thank you, from being here tonight. So we're excited to share progress that the DOT has been making since the last round of our engagement in February and March. We're going to start with a brief discussion of the overall process for the community engagement of the BQE. And we're also going to be discussing we're also going to be discussing how to re-envision the role that the BQE plays in New York City and, especially in Brooklyn. And we're going to look at some of the feedback that the DOT has collected so far and go into more detail about that feedback over in the southern portion of the BQE, which stretches over through Gowanus, Sunset Park, and all the way down to Bay Ridge and Fort Hamilton, to where the BQE reaches Verrazano. So we're going to go, look into the feedback that was collected, go more deeply into that, and we're going to move into recommendations, ideas, and questions from you all. So I just want to mention that tonight we're sharing a toolbox of ideas, and we want to understand your initial responses and how and where you feel they would make sense in your community. But we want to mention that most of the immediate recommendations that you see implemented are going to come from the New York City DOT. Most of the larger infrastructure changes would have to come from the state DOT. That's going to be a much longer process. And tonight we are mostly collecting feedback for the city DOT. So I just want you to be aware of that dynamic, which we will go more into later on. Okay, and we're also going to let Rich speak right now.
Okay. Which one is mine?
Yes. I know.
Sure. Thanks, Rose, and thanks for inviting me to be here. Very happy to be part of this visioning process for looking at what's going to happen with the BQE and how we're going to make the communities around the BQE better for everybody. I am in an energy and environmental law, and so I always have thought that a good energy system and a cleaner environment results from us giving people as many transportation choices as possible, which is obviously what transportation alternatives is all about. It means that there should be good ways to travel for people, whether they want to go by car, foot, bicycle, subway, or bus. And obviously this visioning process is going to be a part of making all that better for everybody. And then I'm also an amateur New York City historian, so I'll just let everybody know that I did go back and read the section of the Power Broker before I came down tonight about what this neighborhood was like in 1941, before the elevated part of the BQE was built along 3rd Avenue. And just to kind of let you know, like, things are never set in stone here. Things can always change and always be different. 3rd Avenue, before the construction of the elevated highway in the spot between like 20th and 65th Streets, was actually a very lively commercial strip with a lot of small stores and remarkably 7 movie theaters that people in the neighborhood went to. So here's a way to just show you that things don't always have to be the way they are, and things can change and be different. Now, what's also interesting, as Robert Carroll points out in the Power Broker, is that the community actually didn't want an elevated highway, or if it was going to be one, wanted it to be down on 2nd Avenue. This community input was not listened to, and as a result, that lively 3rd Avenue commercial strip went into decline. And obviously that's what you're about tonight, is looking back at some of the great mistakes were made from the past, not listening to communities, not giving them a chance to give their input on major transportation projects will not produce the best result for everyone involved. And I just like you to think, as a final thing, I'm also on the board of the Brooklyn Greenway Initiative, that we are working towards creating a green waterfront loop for all of Brooklyn. I hope all of you here have been to the Brooklyn Waterfront Park at Bush Terminal. I've been there many times myself. I think it's a great addition to New York City. I don't think the connections to it are ideal yet. I don't think anybody would think they are, but this is just another example about how getting community input and making this part of a larger transportation project are kind of the simple, small goals that can be achieved no matter what happens with that larger project, and which makes this visioning project so important. Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to seeing what the input is.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julio Peña III. I am the chair of Brooklyn Community Board 7. You are all in the CD7 district, so welcome. Just a show of hands, does anyone live in the Community District 7, Sunset Park, Winter Terrace? So we have been engaging in the BQE conversation for, I as long as I have been breathing, which is a very long time. But in terms of the work our board has been doing, just last night our transportation committee met to discuss 3rd Avenue and related the BQE. We have been pushing the city and state for decades to improve the corridor. We're excited that we have an opportunity to inform the discussion and inform the projects that are happening. Obviously, I think, and many others feel like they fall short. You know, our local folks in the city is engaging in visioning, but the state, which owns the BQE and owns a lot of the roadway underneath the BQE, really needs to do its part and leading in ensuring that we have a safe corridor for everyone, that we have healthy indicators for families, and that we can imagine a BQE, a corridor, a throughway that is balances pedestrians, bicyclists, cars, and ensuring that we have access to our working waterfront. So excited for our discussion tonight, and also really looking forward to the groundswell of support and conversations in terms of the future of the waterfront. Thank you.
Thank you both. So we're actually going to take a small poll from the presentation right now to actually show you our video from round 1 of the project. Essentially, for round 1, Kathy, our broken organizer, hosted a series of 3 rounds, one in the BQE North section, one in the BQE South, and one in the BQE South.
We're going to have a conversation about the BQE that doesn't essentially just go through this BQE office, this BQE entire for. And what we want to do as a community is make sure that every citizen is up and down the earth.
We are doing a BQE North walking tour with a number of community-led organizations to look at the impact of the BQE on our community.
Today we're out here with Transportation Alternatives and lots of amazing community partners and activists to walk the BQE and think together about the future that we deserve and how we can actually address the extraordinary environmental harms that the BQE has caused in our community. It's a matter of climate justice, racial justice, environmental justice, and transit equity.
We're here today to walk around the BQE central portion where we have the triple cantilever. It's a corridor that is second only to the Cross Bronx Expressway for its asthma and pulmonary disorders rate.
The BQE, especially for neighborhoods like Transalt Park, which are predominantly communities of color, really have been segregated off from the rest of Brooklyn by the BQE and also segregated from the waterfront.
We're lifting up just decades of racist infrastructure that has segregated our community youth and has created a real environmental injustice. We are going to take a people-centered, neighborhood-first approach to addressing the inequities and get our communities to
So, just so everyone is aware of the current timeline, we'll go into a little bit more detail about the timeline of the OA transpired. Off this current phase of work with this last workshop series for phase 3, and then we'll be moving into a new phase of attempting to implement all of the lovely community-based projects that the community has recommended on a short-term, near-term, mid-term, and long-term basis. So this should give an overview of how the project will be moving forward throughout the next decade or so. We've already covered this, but in short, the visioning process involves the entire community. It involves state agencies and local community partners who have hosted events already. It also involves any community members that we can convince to come from the public library out of Michigan Fort Avenue to engage in these conferences. So for BQE North and South, multiple workshops were held. As you can see from this lovely slideshow, there is a picture of myself and Nina from our registration table at round 2. For round 2 of the workshop series, we held a workshop at the downtown Brooklyn Public Library back in July to discuss some of these issues and help DOT get a better understanding of what should take place. You can also find a summary of what DOT found during round 2, not only from TA, but also from all of the community. So for some of the other partners that were involved in BQE South, we have the Fifth Avenue Community, Chinese American Association, and Bayward Community Center. So moving on into the visioning process itself. So as I was previously stating,
A little louder.
sorry.
Can we use the mic? Sorry.
Let me see. This actually works. Okay, perfect. Okay. Apologies for that. We probably should have tested the microphone before we kicked off. And apologies also if you could not hear me in the back of the room. I realized having a mask on has muted my voice more than one time. So I'm going to speak directly into the microphone. Okay. So, as I was stating in regards to the design process, DOT is currently wrapping up phase 3. We are currently having tonight's community workshop around 3. So in round 1 to start off, they did an analysis of the BQE North and South, not the Central Section. Please note that has been separately studied. So we held community workshops for round 1. Our workshop series was a video that you saw, the community work that took place for round 2. We held a workshop in downtown Brooklyn, and now for round 3, realizing that we did not get as much feedback on these other portions of the BQE, we have decided to focus on Sunset Park and everything south of Copper Road. So this is just again showing where we're at in the round 3 phase. You can expect DOT in the BQE, yes.
Are you required as a community partner to submit something by way of a grant like, are you required to submit something that will then get fed into the BQE vision report? Can you just say what that is?
Yes, absolutely. I'm literally the person that does it. So what will happen this evening, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about it as we get closer to the breakout room, but essentially a commentary that you place either in posters or on a document, and then that will go towards the report from TA based off the findings from the community.
And the follow-up question is, every community partner expected to do that?
Yes.
Who's still part of the official community partner process?
Yes, that's correct. My understanding is that every single community partner is doing this. If you currently go on DOT's website right now, you should be able to find a PowerPoint presentation and I believe a PDF that outlines all of the individual findings from each community partner. I want to say I think we were page 13 in the last round, but don't ever quote me on that, but I can get you that information before you leave this evening. Okay, so as I was noting, the focus of these workshops primarily are on the BQE North section and BQE South section. The Canterbury section and the section in downtown Brooklyn is the city-owned section, and we will not be focusing on that this evening. So essentially, for the purpose of this workshop, we are looking at what we can actually do to actively change these spaces around the BQE. We want to look at city-owned property, and we also want to look at the state-owned levels of the BQE to see what changes we can actually make. So for those who are not aware of this, New York State has jurisdiction over the actual physical structure of the BQE, whether or not it's a trench or a viaduct. In the viaduct, the state owns the whole structure, the columns, the underside, and for the trench, the state generally owns the retaining wall, things along those lines. So on some level, some of these design concepts and processes will need to have coordination between the state, the city, and multiple partners. On some levels, it will be a lot easier for us to just go in and make individual community recommendations. So one thing to note that DOT is in the process of doing is that they apply for the Reconnecting Communities grant via the state and US DOT. So fingers crossed that all recommendations that go into the 2024 report are then further passed on to the New York State and hopefully the federal government so that these projects can actually be advanced in a timely manner to affect and improve equity in your community. So we'll get more into this as we get into the breakout rooms, but just for your better understanding, in regards to reviewing the concepts, DOT is broken the concepts down into 3 more or less categories. Near term, these are projects that will be led by city agencies such as including planters, like anything along those lines. Medium term projects that will require city agencies work in tandem with the city. Think about curb build outs, ground plans, and things along those lines. And then long term projects, which you will see there are solutions for each of the 4 BQE subsections to the south side. But essentially one of the main concepts long term has been the discussion of capping the BQE in sections that allow and afford for it. So essentially those would be the areas in which the BQE is in a trench.
Okay, so some of the tools that the New York City DOT can implement to help improve areas around the BQE. So again, these aren't kind of high level infrastructure changes. But they are things that could be done in the near term to improve street safety and public spaces around the BQE. And some of these are being looked at now. So one of these, slip lane closures, these can make a huge difference in terms of safety around on-off ramps. Slip lanes are areas that are largely uncontrolled and that have, an angle that makes pedestrian visibility a big issue. And so they are dangerous areas that, can be closed off. Obviously, bike lanes are things that can be implemented in the near term. On streets adjacent to the BQE to create more transit options for cyclists. Of course, in the near term, where protected bike lanes, it would be protected bike lanes would be a longer term process because of course that includes more infrastructure. Including better lighting under the underpasses of the BQE is another near-term solution that can make for a better environment for pedestrians around BQE. Curb extensions to create more space for pedestrians at more crossings and reduce crossing distances and increase visibility for pedestrians. These are also areas where you can include benefits like planters and green spaces, and other small level improvements to the streetscape. So there are activations that can be done on the streets near the BQE, things like street murals, things like events and performances, and dedicating spaces on the sorry, let me go back. You can create more market space on streets near the BQE. You can also add amenities like bike lane, like bike share, like pop-up spaces, bike repair spaces, and other things of that nature. There are medium-term improvements that the New York City DOT can do right now. So like creating better level bike lanes, so separated protected bike lanes. The DOT, the New York City DOT, can add in street medians to create pedestrians more safe spaces when crossing streets adjacent to the BQE. They can add permanent seating in some of these large spaces that we see underneath the BQE. A lot of these spaces now are kind of unofficial parking spaces for cars and areas where you see a lot of trash piled up. These spaces can be greatly improved and used for a lot of different purposes. One of them being seating, one of them being space for programming. You can also add, things like Wi-Fi and charging kiosks. You can add rain gardens and other green spaces. So there are, and also electric vehicle charging spaces. There are a number of things that the DOT can do in the medium term and in the long term, and this would be really, things that you would need more concrete, heavier tools to get done. But in the longer term, the city DOT can work with state partners to cover over some of the trenches, to partially cover some of the trenches, and create a lot more space for pedestrians in doing so. Create pedestrian bridges over some areas of the BQE to make it easier for pedestrian crossings. Or they can create some, this I believe is an example of what was created in Boston. Yeah, I think so. But either way, so there are, there's a number of, great improvements that can be made in the long term when the DOT works with some of their state partners. Of course, assuming that the state gets more involved. And so, I'm happy to from here.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy, the Brooklyn organizer for PA, and I just wanted to put this slide into context as we, before we go into breakout groups to talk about the various geographic zones of BQE South. So this is BQE North, and DOT wanted us to share some projects that are underway along or near the BQE to give context for what is already planned. And so these aren't projects necessarily that are directly tied to the BQE, but give context in the BQE area. So I won't go through all of these, but for example, number one, this street improvement projects on McGinnis Boulevard, a 1 mile, basically a highway in Greenpoint, which has 10,000 signatures. There have been some improvements made there so far, but there are other projects like that that will improve safety in North Brooklyn.
So there are also a few planned projects that the DOT has for the section that we are looking at right now. So things like installing electric vehicle chargers, securing more bike parking, and other amenities. So the DOT is looking at protected bike lanes over on 9th and Smith. So upgrades basically to the existing bike lanes there. So we're looking at waterfront greenway connections over in Sunset Park. Destination greenway improvements to Beach Erickson Park. And also ideas about, better connecting Beach Erickson. We're looking at the DOT is looking at Third Avenue, a Third Avenue corridor study that I know you've been very involved in. Yeah, you can talk more about that.
I'll be super fast.
Yeah.
So, in their infinite wisdom, DOT is doing two studies at the same time. They're doing a Third Avenue study, and at the same time they're doing this BQE revisioning. The community board, I'm Katie Walsh from the Transportation Committee on Community Board 7, which represents Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace. The community board, the community residents have been advocating, as Julio said, for action on Third Avenue for a long time. So we've arrived at this moment where we have both of these things happening at the same time. The big picture, what is the BQE, what should that look like as a piece of infrastructure or not exist at all, or what is that vision? But then also dealing with the real issues that are on Third Avenue. So, what I want to give an update on is that the community board has been looking at options for Third Avenue in response to, I guess it's this one, this number 4. Yeah, it's this one. This number 4, which is from Prospect to 65th, on what could we do to make Third Avenue safer for pedestrians, for cyclists, for seniors, for young people, and address what is the most dangerous corridor in Brooklyn. So this is a death corridor, and our community knows it because of the number of people that we've lost. So that's the issue that's been tasked to the action that we've been taking. And just last night, our transportation committee of our community board did advance a proposal, one of the options that we're then bringing to our full community board 7 on February 21st at 6:30. And I can not hog the mic, but if you want to know what that was and what that looked like, we can just talk about it. But just to say, if you live in the neighborhood, if you are a resident, please come to the community board meeting on February 21st at 6:30. We need you there. You can provide public comment before the meeting, and especially talking about living, breathing, walking in this community, getting around, trying to get down to the waterfront, get to the park, and not die on the way is really important. So, thank you.
Thank you. And you're absolutely right. That is a right that all New Yorkers should have. So moving into the actual BQE corridor toolbox. So from round 1 and round 2, DOT divides these principles that we should focus on to move the work forward. We're seeking to stitch communities back together and increase the connectivity between them, improve multimodal safety, increase environmental resiliency, and also access to greenery. We were looking to manage parking, freight, and curb usage along and underneath the BQE, and also repurpose and utilize the spaces for community vending, community engagement, and overall integration of our streetscapes and transportation planning meetings. So from round 2, the 3 main concepts that we asked questions about were whether or not there were community preferences for these spaces along and underneath the BQE to be used for community connections, green connections, multimodal connections between various different forms of transit, or some combination of all factors. So, we can always take time to look at this in greater detail and share this with y'all, but essentially the takeaways that TA learned from round 2 were that essentially community constituents were looking for a combination of all factors. It wasn't just that they were looking for either a multimodal connector or a green connector, they were looking to see an infusion and an intertwinement of all aspects, increasing lighting, increasing wayfinding, narrowing sidewalks, increasing park infrastructure that's present, working with the community to mitigate pollution levels, either be from traffic and transportation, noise pollution levels, and essentially making the BQE a safe space for residents to interact with and cross in between communities. So, DOT included a presentation and a breakdown of the South 4 section, which will be that table back there, so we're going to kind of speed through this process.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna go more into this, in the, South 4 section, in the breakout groups. But, just to give you an overview, here is what the South 4 section, here's what the, BQE South, kind of looks like. We, starting over here, we have, it's mostly state-owned property. So we're going to be looking at, connecting, improving safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Park space and green space. Along the BQE trench, and looking to connect parks, greenways, and pedestrian spaces that are currently divided by the BQE. So more specifically, we're looking, the BQE is looking at the 86th Street crossing. So enhanced crossing connecting Bay Ridge to Diaper Heights. Looking at community developments along the highway. Looking at streetscape enhancements over on Fort Hamilton, 7th Avenue. Looking at kind of capping part of the trench over by McKinley Park. Looking at, capping parts of the BQE that divide Leaf Erickson Park, and looking at enhanced intersections over on 4th Avenue. Well, the BQE South portion, the southern portion of 4th Avenue, rather. So, here is what we have going on, here's the existing landscape, where we have the trench kind of dividing much of South Brooklyn. Here is kind of what is being looked at, and here are some of the higher level improvements that can be made. But again, we're going to go more into it in the workshops.
And one thing I will know going into the workshop, if there is something that is not present in the aerial view or in one of the documentations that you feel would be critical to your community, please feel free to add that into the process.
Okay, so now we're at the heart of the event, which is to get your feedback as neighbors for the DOT's proposed plans. And so each of the 4 tables are broken out into geographic groups. We're going to spend about 20 minutes in groups with a note taker or facilitator at each table, gathering your feedback, and everyone should have a list of questions, guiding questions that you're welcome to answer. And while you are welcome to move around, we have found from our experience that a lot of people have specific opinions about, specific areas. So feel free to move around, but you're also, it's set up for, a discussion for each region. So we won't be moving tables officially. And also, so we'll do brief introductions at each table, and please use the Post-its to leave notes on the maps and sheets. And also at the end, we will read out, spend the last few minutes reading out the comments, summarizing feedback from each table, and that
Oh, yeah.
will go
Okay, cool.
directly to DOT to inform the process.
So they gave us another
And
sheet
I will
here.
also note that while DOT asked for your thoughts and feedback, they're asking for your thoughts and feedbacks about the design concept presented. Do not be limited to what's presented. You can also include your feedback for other ideas, whether it's however you'd like to share your thoughts about the future of the BQE. So Cole will be at this table, Cobble Hill Red Hook table over here, this table where Nina will be, and then there's a Park Slope Sunset Park table, and then a Bay Ridge tapping the belt. Yeah, table where Rose. Also, we have a